Hello everyone! Today we're going to be jumping into Historic Brawl with Juri, and we are going to be playing a Rakdos Sacrifice deck. Now Juri, as our 2-mana commander, is going to get a +1/+1 counter each time we sacrifice a permanent, which is really strong for us. And additionally, when Juri dies, we get to deal damage equal to his power to any target. So a lot of very strong effects, and of course a lot of synergies to be had by sacrificing permanents. Now, one of our first main synergies in this deck is that of treasures. Creating treasures, we get an artifact that we can sacrifice for mana. That's perfectly good and a great way to go ahead and get additional value. So cards like Strike It Rich basically become a 0 mana, put a +1/+1 counter on Juri if we want to, and we can use that for either color mana. And we can flash it back for some additional value later. Sticky Fingers makes Juri harder to block, while additionally getting us potential other treasures as well. Ragavan also making treasures each turn and giving us additional value there. And that's just in the 1 mana slot. We have lots of other ways of generating treasures as well, whether it be with Captain Lannery here, or with our Glittering Stockpile, which itself is a treasure that can be sacrificed, which is very strong. We've got our Fable of the Mirror Breaker as well in that 3 mana slot, which is also going to be a way to make treasures off the Goblin Shaman, and of course some more treasures as well. With things like Crucius and all of that. Now, not only are those great artifacts to make for sacrificing, but we also can make some other things like blood tokens off Blood Tithe Harvester, and all the different tokens like that as well, giving us the opportunity to get more of those sacrifice triggers. If we want a recurring sacrifice trigger each turn, we've got Oni Cult Anvil. This is going to be a great way to get value each and every turn as we're going ahead and making new constructs and slowly pinging down our opponent, getting them closer to dying. We also have some really good synergies within Rakdos for sacrificing, things like Mayhem Devil, Nixilus letting us sacrifice a creature and making more creatures and forcing our opponent to discard, Judith making all of our creatures a little bit better and dealing damage whenever our creatures die, because we do want to be sacrificing them, right? We've got a lot of strong options here. Dreadhorde Butcher actually acts very similarly to Juri. However, it only gets its +1/+1 counters after dealing combat damage to a player, but when it dies, it is going to deal damage equal to its power to any target, and that condition actually can be very strong if we're dealing up against board wipes, making it very difficult for our opponent to choose when they clear the board, because we might just present lethal with the power of our creatures on the board. Aside from that, again, we've got a lot of token generation in this deck, lots of things that we can sacrifice, and then as you would expect of a Rakdos deck, we've got plenty of removal as well, whether it be Lightning Bolt being a very strong piece of both red burn and removal, or one of our Bone Shard styled cards allowing us to sacrifice creatures and get those additional triggers while also gaining advantages for ourselves. We do also run a bunch of hand disruption from Thoughtseize to Inquisition, which is also going to really help us make sure that our opponent can't really deal with our board, and we get to keep all of that additional value. Mana base is fairly straightforward, just a bunch of Rakdos lands that will let us go ahead and play Juri on turn 2, and then keep getting added value from there. Now, if you guys have been enjoying my content, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on my latest videos, and if you do enjoy this video, make sure you give it a like. Let's go ahead and see how this deck does. Alright, so here we are on the play up against Caromonix the Rat King. Now, honestly, I don't mind this opening hand, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this. We're gonna probably start Fabled Passage for a black land. Get us ready for our next turn where we'll play Den of the Bugbear. Since we don't really have anything red, it's gonna be better to start with Fable. Pass the turn. My guess is we're gonna see a bunch of rat colonies out of our opponents, so we just want to be able to deal with that. Fortunately for us, this card right here is gonna be very powerful. Let's go ahead, grab a black land. Red land, alright. I think we just play the underdog here. the first of our rat colonies. Haunted Ridge. This is Thoughtseize, our opponent. Alright, so Pack Rat, gonna be a big problem if our opponent gets it on the board and keeps it there, but we can remove it almost as soon as it does get there, so we're gonna get rid of the Citadel instead. Then let's ping that down. That's gonna give a perpetual effect on our next cast creature, which in this case should be Juri. So let's go ahead and make a big Juri. Coming in with 4 power right off the bat, which is going to be really strong. Now we can, of course, use Burn Together here, this adventure, to kill Ayara and then deal some extra damage to our opponent, but we will not. Instead, we're going to swing out with the Tenacious Underdog. Opponent will not block here, but we do have Village Rights held up. Interesting, they do choose to block. We're just going to sacrifice this then, get the +1/+1 counter, and draw some cards. Let's see, do we care about having black mana up? I do not think we do, so we'll have that enter tapped. Caramonics. No blocks here. Let's see what we want to do. Honestly, we might want to go Den of the Bugbear here. But we could also play this a little bit slower. We have enough mana for Juri again, so I think let's go ahead and play this out. Back up 2 +1/+1 counters. Go 2 attackers. We'll swing with the Juri. We force the block here. We've got 14 damage if we pay the 1 to sacrifice, which I kind of like. Back to the command zone. We're going to keep that perpetual effect, so Juri's going to be permanently bigger. There's 14 damage. End the turn. Again, we're starting to get pretty close to pressuring our opponent down. Lord Skitter. That's fine. IR will eventually be an issue for us with all these creatures entering the battlefield. Yep. No blocks. Interesting. Alright. Yawgmoth is really strong, but I do think we want Juri out on the battlefield right now. No need to attack, we'll just end the turn here. Rat Colony, yep. We can actually kill those with Yawg, which can be really strong. Tenacious Underdog, gonna leave us, unfortunately. We'll miss him dearly. Yeah, we'll just take that damage, that's fine. Alright, well, let's go Yawgmoth. Okay, opponent goes to draw a card. Now that we've got Yawgmoth here, let's go ahead and pay 1 life. We're going to go ahead and put a -1 counter on the Rat Colony, sacrifice you, draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Juri. We find Thran Portal. We're gonna pick black for this. It will enter tapped, though. Let's play out Gutter Bones. Pay our life, get that +1/+1 counter as well. And now, of course, we can pay 1 life to sacrifice Juri if we want to, but I do kind of want to wait just a little bit. They could block with Lord Skitter here. I actually don't think I'd mind that, so we're going to swing in for 6. Yeah, they let it through, so that's looking really good for us. Pack Rat, sure. So now, if we are able to sacrifice 3 things next turn, or, sorry, it's going to be 5 things, just with their other rat colony played. We should be able to just sacrifice Juri and get ourselves to the end of the game. Yep. This is fine. I mean, we'll just block this. It'll get sacrificed, they'll draw a card. Alright, well. Carry Zev. Let's go ahead, move to combat. And let's swing with the Juri. Now, before any of that happens, we'll pay our life. Get rid of you, sacrifice Carry Zev. Get that extra +1/+1 counter. Now we've got Fatal Push. We'll go ahead and kill Lord Skitter. Looking good. Now let's go ahead and deal 7 damage to our opponent. Sacrifice you. Back in the command zone. Leave those perpetual effects and 7 more to the face. Alright, opponent going first, and we're playing up against an Azusa deck. I actually don't mind keeping this opening hand. Depending on what our opponent plays. Elvish Reclaimer, we are going to want to Fatal Push that. I think we'll just wait and see if our opponent plays something else. If they want to exchange 1 land for another, they can. Well, that's funny. We'll just kill that now. Play out Juri here. I went with the Springs instead of Blood Crypt, just because shocking that would have been a little bit more expensive. There's Azusa. Playing all those lands. Yep, that's some solid ramp out of our opponent. Alright, well, Ulamog is gone, so that's really good to see. Let's Thoughtseize here. Alright, no creatures for our opponent. Then we'll play out a Goblin Bombardment. If we have to, we can kill Azusa, but I don't think this is going to be a problem. Again, only 1 card in our opponent's hand. Interesting, so we've got the Anvil here, which we will play out. We're a little creature light, we'll have this enter tapped. See, opponent holding priority here. Maybe they've got something. Alright, I am gonna swing here. And we'll just sacrifice the anvil to itself. And we've got it, alright. Alright, opponent goes first, and we are up against Nissa. I feel pretty decent about this starting hand, actually. So I do think we'll go ahead and keep that. Utopia's Brawl's pretty good start. Let's go ahead and play out our veteran. Now, odds are we see the Nissa here. Yep. Now, honestly, I think we would prefer to discard a card. We're going to discard our Shadow Spear. Destroy our opponent's Planeswalker, then we'll go ahead and use Sticky Fingers here. This is going to give us access to a treasure, which is just going to accelerate us towards some of those bigger threats. Sure, Invasion of Zendikar, that's just some ramp, so no big deal there. Let's go ahead and play out Juri. Swing. We're gonna get another treasure token here. And let's crack a treasure token and Thoughtseize before our opponent gets a turn with access to all of their mana. Alright, I think Great Henge is gonna be the issue. They can play Azusa's, and that's fine. It'll eventually flip, but we've got more time first. Yep, additional land. That's fine. Opponent is probably going to have to, yep, play out that Nissa, and that's fine. Alright, well, we hit our landfall. Now, honestly, I think we'll go for Rankle here. That's going to go ahead and put a +1/+1 counter on Juri. And we can just swing out. Looks like we've got it. Alright, on the play, and we're up against Dovin, Hand of Control. So, we're going to get to start with Inquisition. I think we're just going to shock the Blood Crypt now. Interesting. Settle the Wreckage. Good to know about that to play around it. Let's get rid of the Counterspell. I think the Counterspell is going to be more annoying. Witching Well. Yep. Alright, I think best play here is gonna just be to play out our Ragavan. I want to get some value out of this. We'll use Sticky Fingers here. Have to be careful about the Settle the Wreckage, but having our Ragavan make 2 treasure tokens is going to be really strong. That card has been foretold, so let's go ahead and swing with Ragavan. Get both of our treasures. We find a Dream Trawler. We'll play Juri here. Castle. End the turn. No Dream Trawler for us, unfortunately. My guess is we see Dovin, and Dovin's gonna minus on the Ragavan.
are many who have turned weakness into a virtue.
Alright, well, Mayhem Devil. Interesting. Now we have a couple of choices. I think we'll just do this for 3. Or sorry, for X equals to 2. We'll pay 3 mana. 0, we're gonna hit Dovin. Oh, that's right, sorry. The Dovin's tax on our mark. Didn't even think of that. We'll have to go ahead and do this for 1. Submit 0. Ping. 2 sacrifices isn't going to be enough. So instead, we will exile. And we will go with 3. We'll get rid of our Tenacious Underdog. Go ahead, hit that. Auto-pay. There we go. Got that all figured out. Ping you down. There we go. +1/+1 counters.
If that's your bet, I was incorrect. Go ahead and gloat.
And now we'll get to swing out with Juri. Ragavan won't be able to deal combat damage. So there's no point in swinging with him. We'll just leave that back. But we do get in the 3 there. Now our opponent has 3 islands, so we're actually not afraid of Settle the Wreckage next turn. So that's going to be a pretty huge turn for us. If they miss the land drop here, okay, Behold the Multiverse. So I don't think they're going to find a way to deal with our board this turn. So we're looking at 8 damage next turn for sure, making 2 more treasure tokens. It's going to be very strong. Potentially no land drop out of our opponent. Interesting. So we've got a Fatal Push now. Let's swing out. We have our opponent down at 11. Honestly, yeah, let's get ourselves a free Guild Mage and 2 +1/+1 counters on Juri. We'll get to ping our opponent down for 2 as well. Put 2 more +1/+1 counters on our Juri. And we'll end the turn. We can use Castle Lockthwain to draw a card if we want, but we'll hold up Fatal Push for now. Alright, I think we're going to see Imrith come out. Maybe our opponent Time Warps. I think they kind of have to Time Warp here, actually. Find another card. Yeah. That's fine by me. They really want to see another white land so they can hold up Settle. They don't find it. Again, I think this is gating a lot of their board wipe ability as well. So we might just have it here. Okay, 1 ring. That's fine. Protection for 1 more turn. We'll draw a card with the castle. Let's go Mount Doom. Now we can use Mount Doom to ping down our opponent, or I think we just play out the Blood Tithe Harvester. That's going to give us a blood token. We can get rid of this Fatal Push and find something better, and also ping with Mayhem Devil, but we're going to wait until our opponent no longer has protection. Interesting. Returning Juri to our hand. Honestly, we shouldn't Fatal Push the Juri because that's gonna be a big issue with our opponent having protection. But Now I'm kind of thinking about holding back on that blood token. Waiting till we get some extra value there. Again, I think they're just frantically searching for that white land. It would be very fun if we hit it with Ragavan. We definitely have enough damage to kill our opponent if they don't do anything. Alright. Moving on to my turn. We're gonna replay Juri here. Blood token. Discard, cut down. Find a new card. 1 damage to our opponent. +1/+1 counter on Juri. Now Yahenni is a pretty good draw. Let's go ahead and swing in with Ragavan, the Guild Mage, and the Harvester. They'll probably block the Harvester. Two treasures off Ragavan is 2 more damage. So let's go Yahenni here. Sacrifice the treasure. 1 damage. Now, of course, sacrifice a creature to give Yahenni indestructible. Looks like we've got it. Alright, I hope you all enjoyed. As you saw, there's a lot of ways to turn Juri's power into potentially a lot of damage coming at our opponent. You saw in one of our games there, we were able to deal 14 damage just by having him on the board and sacrificing him, so it can be very powerful. Additionally, if we can get ahead of our opponent, it's so easy to stay there, especially if we have ways to continually generate treasure tokens, which will keep growing our Juri. So like Ragavan with Sticky Fingers was an insane combo there, giving us so much value each turn and making it really hard for our opponent to deal with us. So this deck is really good if you have a strong early game. Definitely make sure you mulligan hands that won't be able to do anything for those first couple of turns, because you definitely want to be able to capitalize there. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you give it a like, and if you have another idea for a deck you'd like to see me play, why don't you let me know in a comment down below. I'll see you all next time.